what's up, you guys? So this video did not want to be made at all. So let me just explain to you what's happening and why I'm holding my microphone. So basically, this is the camera I do all my film projects on, and it decided to die, and I can't connect this to it, so I tried to film it with the microphone that's built in, and the audio was so bad it was red barring on me exhaling. But I decided I was gonna make this video today, and I'm going to make this video today if it fucking kills me. And it seems like that might be where we're headed right now. Anyway, hey, what's up, you guys? It's Carmi. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. So basically, today's video is gonna be kind of like a quick rundown of my childhood, because why not? I also have some really creepy stories, which I feel like really sticks to the theme of things that I'm interested in, and we're gonna be just looking into things that were kind of creepy in my childhood that I think you guys would be definitely interested in. Anyway, so I wanted to give a brief rundown on how things have gone in my life and what I think is happening currently, because I know you guys you're into horror, and I'm here to give that to you. So let's start back at the beginning. So when I was a wee lass, I was born out in the middle of nowhere, and I still live in the middle of nowhere. But now I live alone in the middle of nowhere, which is a lot different from living in the middle of nowhere with your parents. So I grew up playing with like livestock and in the woods.
Country boy, I love you.
I know for sure you guys want to hear this. So growing up, I didn't have many friends because I lived in the middle of nowhere. I did homeschool, and I know I was a horse girl, and I did grow out of it, so don't come for me. But I ended up going through enough in my childhood that I decided I needed a friend. So what do you do when you have no friends and you can't make any? You create one. So I made a friend, and I named him Gnome, and I actually have a picture that my mom kept. I will put it right here, of what I drew Gnome as, and he was someone that I hung out with all the time. Like, in my brain, he was my friend. Like, he would just kind of stand in the corner, but we were buds. Like, you know what I'm saying? We were buds. So I was hanging out with him, and him and I would play in the woods in my backyard, and we were the best of friends. And he's important to the story because of the way I perceived him. I perceived him as a little boy when I was growing up, and I understand that I had an imaginary friend longer than most people would have. I had an imaginary friend until I was 13, and that's mostly stemming from the fact that I didn't have anyone else to be friends with because I didn't go anywhere. I mean, of course I went into town to see different family members, and I always hung out with my cousins, and it was really fun, but that all ended when I was 10. We never saw any of them again. But do I know why? No, but I don't have any contact with them, and I don't even remember their names. So growing up, I had him, and the house I live in is relatively new. We built it a few years ago, and it's very nice. But before this, we lived in a really old, like, colonial hut. Like, it wasn't a colonial hut, but it was very, very old. And it was one that 4 generations above me, so my grandmother lived there with her husband. And that's a whole mess of a story, but they lived there. They built that house when they came here from Russia, and now we live on the same plot of land, but we demolished the old house and built a new one. So that was finished when I was 15. I'm 18 now. And so a lot of you have been asking if my house is haunted, because a lot of my videos you can hear banging and like tapping. And I think it is. It's always been like that. I do engage in like purification rituals, and I grow sage and all that. So I sage my house and try and purify it. And I'm not the most religious person in the world, but I do think that there is some spirits in here. And yes, I do not think that they are my parents. So for those of you who don't know, my parents have passed away recently. My dad passed away, well, he went missing when I was 14, and it's assumed that he passed away, but we don't really know. And this isn't for sympathy points, this is just so you guys can understand me better and why I'm making these like video documentaries about what's going on, so I can tell if I'm losing my mind or not. But he ended up leaving the house when I was like 14 in the middle of the night. He didn't take anything. He didn't take the car. He didn't take any of his clothes. He didn't take literally anything at all. And so when someone does that and they didn't take any money, which we don't have a lot of to begin with, and then he just fell off the face of the earth, like, where did he go? I have no idea, but he has not shown back up. And there were human remains found near a house a while later, and they were so decomposed we couldn't tell. They were found like 2 or 3 years later, so it makes sense if it was him. So we had him declared legally dead. And I've moved on with that. He was never really a supportive figure in my life, which is not to say that I didn't love him and I didn't mourn him, but I moved on. As for my mom, this is harder for me to talk about because it was more recent. She passed away really recently, actually, like over like maybe a year and a half ago. And she passed away in a car accident when she was going into town for a doctor's appointment, which is not normal for her. I had to convince her to go to that doctor's appointment, actually. And I drove her out there, and on her way back, she passed away. And that's something I live with every day. Like, I'm like it makes me sick, actually. But she ended up passing away, and I wasn't even allowed to see the body or the burial, which is really weird. This town is weird, okay? Like, this town is really weird. It's like middle of nowhere. Everyone knows each other. No one really knows me because I'm out in the sticks. But the other thing is, I'm one of the only people in this town with the internet, which is a whole thing. Like, I was a very different person before I did online school. I was homeschooled by my mom until I was 8. And then the internet was still pretty new around then, but there was online school. So I started doing online school, and it really opened up like my abilities to learn things about the real world or whatever outside of my little buttfuck nowhere bubble. And I learned a lot. And the thing is, I also learned that the way I live is kind of weird. Like, I never thought it was weird that I never really saw anyone, and my imaginary friend's name was Gnome, and he was a little boy who could suddenly shapeshift into like a really tall guy, and I was like, okay, well, you know. So anyway, after I got the internet, I started to realize that things in my life were a little weird, and that law enforcement in this town is like crazy weird. Like, we had someone break into our house a couple years ago, so we called the police, and they literally told us, it's okay. It's okay? Like, why is it okay? So obviously we're like, we have weapons because we're farmers. We, you know, sometimes you have to put a cow down. And so we chased him out of our house, except I never saw him. No one ever saw him. We just heard him. And then like a day later, my dad went missing. So take that for what you will. But one event that I really want to touch on is my imaginary friend Gnome, which is what this whole thing has been leading up to for 8 minutes. But it's a really short story, and I just think it like kind of solidifies how creepy everything is. So now that I live alone, I am starting to see him again, which is just crazy, actually. I've always seen figures. I've always been kind of empathic, which is something that I think comes with being really, really lonely. Ghosts like to track onto someone who is lonely and vulnerable, because they are too, living in the middle of nowhere. You also do find some older graves, because people out here will just bury their loved ones on their property after they pass away, be it old age or something more tragic. They do tend to put them to rest on their property because that's what they wanted. And I understand it's not really in compliance with the code, but let me tell you, middle of nowhere Texas, law enforcement's weird. They do allow it. It is legally binding out here, and you will stumble across some forgotten grave sites. And I'm always very respectful. I usually leave painted rocks for them to enjoy, because I believe that every spirit should be honored, especially if they are forgotten. But there is there's this one area that I can't describe. I know someone's buried out there, but there's no stone. And this is the first time I saw Gnome. I was out there when I was like 8, and I was snooping around picking wildflowers, and you know, it sounds magical now, but boy was it not. And I remember I saw there was like a bit of a curve. If I can find a picture of what it looked like, I'll put it here. And it was a bit of a curve into the ground, and for some reason I knew like someone is there. And in the distance there is this old shack that I've never gone into because it's not on my property and my neighbors are crazy, so I'm not going on it. But I'll put a video of it here. I know I have a video of it from a long time ago. But I remember thinking, like, someone used to live in that, like, little 2-story shack, and they passed away and someone buried them here. And I don't know why I decided that was true. Well, I kind of wish I didn't, because Gnome never left me alone after I saw that. Like, he's been around ever since. And once again, I'm gonna flash up pictures on the screen if I can find, like, drawings that I made of Gnome when I was a kid, and they're so creepy. And my mom was like, oh, it's so cute. Like, no, it's fucking terrifying, okay? And he ended up going away when I was 13, and now he's back. Except I can't see him anymore. What I mean by that is I can just tell he's here, and I can tell he's watching me. And this is where things kind of like start to shift into something weird. So in the last few months of my mother's life, the reason why I made her go to see a doctor was because she completely stopped communicating with me, like, for 3 months before her passing. Like, she wouldn't talk to me. She would just write really manically in her journals. I can't even read it. Once again, pictures right here. And I couldn't get her out of, like, this trance, and there were pictures showing up everywhere. She was shoving notes into the walls and, like, destroying things to shove more crap into the walls with. And, like, I was honestly horrified for her, because I was like, what is happening? Like, what do I need to do to help you? And she wouldn't speak. And I wish I would have got her help sooner. But I ended up driving her out, and I couldn't drive her back in because the car broke down, and I wanted her to just go home. So I called a family friend. Like I said, I don't have their number anymore, but I called them from a payphone. They didn't answer, so I ended up having her take what I thought was a taxi back, and she ended up passing away. And I don't know, something that's interesting to me is that I keep finding her notes. I keep finding things that my dad wrote too, and I keep finding pictures of me, and they're like Polaroid pictures. And they're usually taken of me from, like, behind. Sorry if you can hear my dogs, by the way. I do have dogs out here. I would go crazy if I didn't have any living being with me. Can you be quiet? Anyway, once again, I'm sorry if you can hear them. I'll move closer to my mic so that maybe I can pick up some better audio here. But, I keep finding pictures of me, but they're not of me. They're of me, but they're of me and, like, someone's standing in the corner over there, and they take a picture of me from behind, and then I find the picture, like, sticking out of a baseboard, or my dog is chewing it up, which is not uncommon. My dogs eat everything. But I was like, I keep finding them, and I think I'm being stalked. Like, my parents used to tell me bedtime stories about a watcher, someone who would watch me when I would sleep, and it was to keep me from going out at night, because I used to love to lurk around at night, especially because we have a creek by our house, and I would go out by the creek and there would be lightning bugs, and we would also have, like, fish, and I thought it was really pretty in the lily pads, and then they were like, get your ass inside, and I was like, word. So they basically made me come inside, and they told me that if I went outside, basically the watcher was gonna get me. And now that I think about it, I think that there might have been some paranoia or an actual mental illness going on, because they boarded the windows up of that old house and never let light in. And we basically lived on a dirt floor with nothing, until one day they decided to build this whole new house, which has crazy security, like insane security. And we're in the middle of nowhere. Like I said, my neighbors have been, like, abandoned their house a long time ago, and the one person that's left out there, or I even think there's something living out there, I don't know what it is, could be a homeless guy, is very reclusive and keeps to himself. So there's really no reason. Like, I live in an area where people don't lock their doors at night. Like, they leave their car doors open. And do I agree with it? No, it's like a hazard, but that's how, like, safe everybody feels out here. So for my house to have all this crazy security, it's, like, pretty weird. But now we don't have boarded windows, and I'm trying to clean this house up because I don't want to live out here anymore. So these videos are going to be me chronicling living out here and how I don't want to live out here anymore. So that's the story of Gnome. and a very rambly video. I'm sorry, but yeah, this is a story I've been meaning to tell, and I wanted to tell it. And Gnome is someone that I feel his presence. So if any of you are empathic or can tell me more about what this may mean, I would super appreciate it. If you could just put it in the comments down below, I would really love that. Or if any of you could give me some tips on how to sage the house, or things you want to see, like if you want to see the writings or weird things that I keep finding, or maybe a vlog of my house, you should let me know so I can show you how creepy it is out here. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me how weird this is, because, oh, trust me, I know. But I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today at this 8:11 p.m. rainy day. Well, anyway, it's Carmi, and I'm gonna be going, and I'll see you guys really soon. Thank you for hanging out with me. Bye.